Yeah, as you're coming on, if you're coming on to the Zoom, please make sure that you mute and turn your video off as well. That would be great.
We're live, Virginia.
Awesome. Yeah. So welcome, welcome. All right. Well, I think it's 7:01, so I think we can get started. So hello again to everyone. My name is Virginia Fons, and I live in the community of Tuscany here in Calgary. And I'm a mother of 4, a piano teacher, and I'm currently working my way back to my roots as an elementary school teacher. I'd like to welcome our panelists this evening and to all of you that are joining in via Facebook or on Zoom here. So welcome. As I said before, I've never done a live event like this, so this is new to me. Hopefully it all goes well and we don't have too many glitches so that you can enjoy the meeting. So tonight is another installment of our speaker series that's done through our local congregation in Tuscany and Valley Ridge of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The title of this evening speaker series is The Nurturing Power of Women, the Influence of Mothers and Women in Homes, Communities, and Society. So as the month of May, you know, we celebrated Mother's Day, I thought a lot about the influence of my mother in my life. And I thought about the influence of mothers and of women in general. And so this is really where I got this from. I have felt the nurturing power is not just something a mother possesses, but that it's something that all women possess. The influence women have is felt in homes, in their families, in communities, and society as a whole. Not every woman can be or wants to be a mother, and I want to honor all women and their strength and influence for good in the world. I first naturally reflected on one of the most important women in my life, my mother. I thought I wouldn't be emotional, but if I'm going to talk about my mom a little bit, I'm sure I will be a little bit. She has been a strong influence in who I am today. She was my first example of the power that women have. She was a wonderful mother and has become one of my best friends. Through her example, I learned that family was important. Through her, I learned that serving others is important. And she was the first in her family to get a university education and taught me that learning is a lifelong pursuit and not just a single destination. And I'm grateful for that. Also, through my very dearest of women friends, I have learned that challenges are an opportunity for growth, that to be vulnerable is a strength, and to know what we need and what we have to offer is empowering. This led me to ponder on the impact of women coming together as we're doing so this evening. Back in my university days, I did a research paper on the women's organizations of Alberta in the early 1900s, such as the United Farm Women of Alberta, and how their group efforts really made a difference for women's rights in Alberta. Also, as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I am part of the Relief Society, which is the longest running women's auxiliary in North America. In an article by one of our faith leaders, it was said, as the Relief Society of this church, it has a membership of over 5 million women across the world. If they will unite and speak with one voice, their strength will be incalculable. It is so tremendously important that the women of the church stand strong and immovable. We must stand strong and immovable in faith, strong and immovable in family, and strong and immovable in relief. These are important areas as followers of Jesus Christ. But whether we are Christian or not, religious or not, we can all be women of influence, of courage and of faith and examples to others, and to our families, and reaching out to others. As I continued my research for this event, I came across many examples of women of influence. One that stood out to me that I had read this article years ago, and I found it again. It's about this group of women called the Gulabi Gang of India. And these women stood up for women in their community that were being abused. And there was a lot of abuse in the community. And these women would go as a large group and help these women get out of these situations. And because of their efforts, the local authorities, who had previously been very apathetic, started to take real action to make changes in their community. Also, an article written in the Harvard Business Review, I read it was about 7 lessons that we can learn from women in business, such as elevating others, putting our people, our employees, ahead of ourselves, motivating through transformation, and don't command but empathize. And if you want to read that article, it's an excellent article, and I can always add that some of these resources in after the fact. I'm grateful for the women who have nurtured me through loving me, teaching me, standing up for me, and standing with me. Wherever we find ourselves, we can nurture and help those within our sphere of influence. Some women may be a stay-at-home mom raising young children. Some may be working women or working mothers. Some may be grandmothers or aunts or friends or leaders, or at some point, all of these things. Whether our sphere of influence is smaller or larger, each one is valued and important. It makes me think of a book I read about Hannah More. She's a poet and reformer and abolitionist from the late 1700s, early 1800s. In her biography, Fierce Convictions, The Extraordinary Life of Hannah More, the author, Karen Swallow Prior, said it very well. And I could really see myself and women I know in this quote. She said, quote, "She was a woman who was at once ordinary and remarkable. She was a woman with virtues and flaws, faith and fears, vision and blind spots. But she was also one whose unique gifts and fierce convictions transformed first her life and subsequently her world and ours." This evening, we have women that are all in different stages of life, that are involved in different opportunities and have different lived experiences. I look forward to hearing from each of them, and I hope that all of you listening will find this an uplifting evening. So our panelists this evening that we have tonight are Laura Wenzel. She is a lawyer and mother of 2. Thank you for waving, let's do that. Then we have Diana Manville, a retired nurse and grandmother. We have Sister Lopez, who is currently serving as a missionary for our church here in our community. And we have I'd like to have a special welcome to Shannon Gervais, a mortgage broker, mother of 3, and very involved Tuscany resident. She's not a member of our church, and we are so grateful that she so graciously accepted our invitation to share her thoughts on this topic this evening. So to get started, I'd like to just head into the questions. So this evening, I'm going to be asking some questions that are the same for each panelist and some that are more specific to each of these women. So to start off, I'd like to, the first question is for Diana Manville. What does the nurturing power of women mean to you?
You know, I've been very lucky. I've been able to be a stay-at-home mom. I've been able to be a working mom with kids. I've been able to be a divorced mother with children, a divorced mother where my kids were all out of my house. So I've got a real range of experience, what it's like to just be in my own life. And the one thing I've noticed is that all women have this huge ability to be compassionate. I was thinking of one of the women in Bangladesh that has to raise her children right next to a railroad track. And I remember what raising my little kids were like, and raising them 6 inches from a railroad track is not my ideal of safety. But she was there every day for those kids in abject poverty, and she never complained. She just was there and doing her thing. And then I also saw examples of mothers in Sierra Leone when they were having the conflict over the blood diamonds. And I saw these women fleeing with their children, where their husbands got shot to death or conscripted, and their little boys got made into murderers. And then at the end of the movie, it showed this father welcoming this son back and telling him his mother would cook him his favorite foods and nourish him like she did before. And that all of the stuff that happened before that made him a murderer was not his fault and would go away, and he welcomed him back as his son. And I think that's the one thing that I feel is in common with women across the world. It doesn't matter whether they had a lot of money or no money, they took care of their children. So I think that's what I see of women in the world.
Thank you so much. Shannon, I'd like to ask you the same question. What does the nurturing power of women mean to you?
I took it more as like almost like a definition, I guess. But for me, it's like a feeling. It's like a burning fire deep down inside. It's just like so natural and innate, right? Like no one taught me how to be this way. Like my mother did, but like it's just this internal feeling and force. And I just think that all women possess this. And it's just natural to provide support and develop people and encourage those around you. Like it's it's amazing being in a team of women and just supporting one another and the amazing things that can happen. Um, it's like a sense of mothering, I guess, and it just kind of brings everyone together. We just have a way of bringing everyone together and just making everyone feel really good about themselves. Um, I, when this natural reaction is applied to our work and community and families, it's kind of like a magic that just makes the best of everything, right? Like it makes us better people, provide better business and services in our work, our communities and family. And I think that it's almost infectious, right? Like it emulates good around you. So that's what I see when I think of women and nurturing.
Yeah, I love that you said about mothering, right? That's not just something that is singular to someone who is a mother, but that to women as a whole and in general, right? Yeah, that's great. And to Laura Wenzel, if you could share your thoughts on that same thought.
I just had to unmute myself. Yeah, I took it more in a business sense, and in business, we still have the stigma that women are too soft to be leaders. But if you read any studies on leadership at all, you'll find that women consistently score higher than men. And, you can ask yourself why. And I truly believe it's because women are nurturers. They're more proactive in becoming mentors. They're more empathetic. They have high emotional intelligence. And women in general are good communicators and good listeners. And so because of these qualities, I feel that women are more in tune with the needs of their families, with the needs of their coworkers at work. And then we also seek to fulfill the needs of your family members at home, your team members at work. Yeah, I'll leave it there.
No, I really like that, Laura. Thank you. And that really touches on some of the points of that article that I mentioned in the Harvard Business Review, and how, often they would be, women don't need to be like men. We bring something unique to our positions and in business and in our communities and all those things. And so I really like that you touched on that. Sister Lopez, if you could share with us your thoughts on what the nurturing power of women means to you.
Yeah, for sure. It seems that we got a lot of different perspectives here from different walks of life. And my perspective is kind of leaning towards the religious side as a missionary. That's kind of natural for me right now. But what I thought when I read this question was simply that the nurturing power of women is the ability to love everyone around us. It's a gift that we're just born with. It's divinely appointed to us. So I think it's just simple like that. Love doesn't look a specific way. It's just being able to love and nurture those around us.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. So my next question is for Laura. And the question was, what do you feel you give to your roles of raising children as a lawyer that's unique to you as a wife and a mother, as a woman and a mother? And also, what do you hope that you're able to show your children by your example?
Okay, well, the theme of tonight's session is the nurturing power of women. So I figured I'd stay on that topic and say exactly that. But so when it comes to being at home and raising children, you know, I have a great husband that partakes in everything that needs to be done. But I will say that, like most women, I tend to be more of the take on the household management role and figuring out what needs to be done and keeping track of what needs to be done. You know, whether that's you know, making sure your kids have birthday gifts and their laundry's done, and you know, their vaccination schedules up, and you know, making sure that they have clothing and shoes that fit, and oh, the next season's winter, do they have a winter coat, and you know, are they wearing it when they go to school, and you know, are there mitts in their pockets if they haven't left the house with that, you know, so there's a lot going on that that women tend to, you know, there's a lot of mental energy that goes into just the coordinating and the managing of a household. And, you know, all of the tasks that I'm being a working mother, like all of those tasks, my husband is more than willing to jump in and to do any of those tasks. But he usually needs to be asked or told, or and I don't think that he's alone in that. And I think that um, that tends to be most men, and most women kind of step back and take on that nurturing role and look around and say, okay, well, what needs to be done, and and whatnot. And I think that, you know, in our church, I think the men in our church are probably um, uh, you know, better at managing and being more in tune with the needs of their families than the average man. I mean, the focus of our church is so family oriented that at least the men that I know within our church, you know, they step up to the plate. But I also know all of the wives and all of the women in our church. And I know that the time and energy and effort that they put into managing the household. So, you know, while the men's efforts are appreciated and required, they're not quite up to par with the time and effort and energy that I see the women putting into it. And so, you know, I guess that's kind of what I'll say about being at home and raising children. But I'm also in the workforce, and I'm a lawyer, so I'm a woman in a historically male-dominated profession, and though that is changing, but the profession itself is veering away from you know, the old boys club, and there's a shift towards access to justice and doing pro bono work and um, alternative dispute resolution processes, and shifting away from the adversarial almighty trial. And I don't know if there's a correlation there between more women entering the legal profession and these things. I really don't know. I haven't done any research on that. But I will say that in my experience, the women that I work with tend to put more emphasis on those issues. Um, and I know that you know, the women that I work with tend to seek out more mentorship opportunities without having to be told and whatnot. And also there's a fairly high turnover in my office between pairings between lawyers and assistants, but I actually, in a team of, I don't know, I think there's almost 25 lawyers in my office, I have the longest pairing with my assistant without having that shift up. And I believe it's because we communicate well and we listen to each other, and we're in tune with each other's needs, and that's a form of nurturing. So anyway, so all of this, I don't want to come off as saying, women are any more capable or any more hardworking than men. I just think that women tend to focus their energies differently, and bring different skills and different perceptions to the table. So whether that's at home, in the workplace. So.
No, that's great. Thank you so much, Laura. I really appreciate that. And I think that's a really great example for your kids to see that. And I think, yeah.
All right. I forgot that question. I'll keep that one brief. And I just want to say that, what do I want to show my children is balance and life balance. And I fail at that. I fail at that all the time. But I hope it's something that I can show my kids, because I think I do it better than my mother did it. And I think she did it better than her mother did it. And I'm hoping that my kids learn even to do it even more so than I do, between your spiritual life, your health life, your physical well-being, I think that happiness lies in there somewhere. And I just hope that I can pass that on just a little bit.
Thank you for that, Laura. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I think we always hope that next generation learns and takes all the very best of it. But I like that you said that I fail at it often. And I think being open and honest about that is a gift for the next generation, to know that it's okay to not be perfect at something and that we fail. I make a lot of mistakes and I apologize to my kids often, but I say, I hope that's a gift that I give my kids, that I make mistakes, but I own up and I try to make it right. And so I think that's a real gift. I think that is definitely something that women, we can be an example in that. Not that men don't, but women can lead in an example of that. So I appreciate that. Our next question is for Sister Lopez. What do you feel you give to your role as a missionary that's unique to you as a woman?
So just going back to the brief definition that I gave of nurturing is the ability to love. And for those of you who don't know, as a missionary, what we do is we invite others to come unto Christ. And there's no way we can invite others to be like Jesus Christ, to receive his love, if we don't show that love. So I really do think that the nurturing power of women, being able to love all these people that you talk to every day, even the people that aren't exactly nice to you or that reject you, you have the ability to just stand up back again and just go on and continue to love everyone. And one of my companions in the past, she said that the mission is like a battlefield of love. We're just fighting and fighting and fighting just so people know that they have people that love them around. So I really, really like that. And a leader in our church, President Herring B. Eyring, once said that Heavenly Father, or God, is preparing his children to be nurtured, to receive great knowledge. And women play a miraculous role in that. So I think that's really powerful to know that, like, as a sister missionary specifically, we have these divinely appointed gifts that help people feel loving and kindness in this world that can be like so scary a lot of the time. So I really appreciate that a lot of us have these gifts to help people just feel loved.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that, that you recognize the gifts that you have and that you're using them in the way that you feel is right, and that you're sharing that with people. And I think that's something that I hope women, we always try to do in whatever roles that we find ourselves in, that that we're not afraid to share who we are and what we have to offer. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. Next question is for Shannon. Shannon, what do you feel you give to your roles of raising children, as a businesswoman, that is, etc., that is unique to you as a woman and a mother? And then the second part is more specifically, what do you bring to your job that's unique to you as a woman as well?
Yeah, so I feel like it kind of rolls into like support, caring, and guidance across the board, and then individually. So as a mortgage broker, it is heavily female dominated. It's a little different than lawyers. There's a lot of women. And even though we all work independently, so we all work for ourselves, there's like this community within. So we have our group of women in the mortgage industry that chat and help each other out. So we work together, we share challenges with one another and adversities that we face. We share that with each other, but we support each other through those difficult times. And there are some really tough clients. Sometimes you do get treated poorly sometimes, and just having that someone to help pick you up, because you have to pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and resume the next day, right? It's just having that group of people to support you. We also acknowledge and celebrate our wins together. So we're very rah rah, and we can do this. And I love that so much about it, because it's amazing just to have that support, because some days it really feels like you're 2 steps forward, 5 steps backwards, and it's hard to pick yourself up sometimes. Similar to being a mom, right? I mean, some days your kids can just run you down, but it's a big job, and no one tells you how challenging it is. And I like what Laura said about how, we're basically project managers. We're picking up the pieces to everything. And even though like my husband's super supportive and he helps with sports and anything, he'll be there to help with, but he definitely needs the guidance, because I feel like we're the ones that are just running everything, and we know where all the cracks are, and we know where to catch the balls and that are falling, but we have to delegate. And that was a learning thing, a learning process for us as a couple, as we had kids into our life, that me asking him to do something, it had to be learned that it was more of like, I'm asking for help and not like bossing around. So, that's definitely a learning curve there. But, and then within the community, I do sit on the Tuscany Community Association board, just to help support them with anything, volunteer. We have a harvest festival each year, and just to be there and bring the community together. It's a really great day. I mean, COVID has taken that away from us the last couple of years, but or last fall and then maybe this fall, but just a combined effort to keep our community a great place to live and play, because it really is great here. And I just want to continuously help make that better and have some input. And I'm raising my kids here, so I want to know kind of what's going on, and I want to help fill the gaps, right? If I see a gap where, maybe kids need some support or anything like that, I just want to help out. So
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I really liked how you talked about celebrating. That's something I've really noticed on Instagram recently. A lot of women sharing things like, we as women in business and in other opportunities are not in competition. We're here to support each other. And that is such a 5 steps forward for all women, when we can celebrate each other and our successes, and not find it as a competition, but as this benefits everyone. And I like how you talked about finding the cracks and being a support in all our spheres of influence. I, for one, really love the Tuscany Harvest Festival, and I miss it, and my kids love it, and it's a way to celebrate, yet again, cheering on our community and celebrating us as a community, and that we're a great community, and it's great to be a part of it. And that was a huge influence in us moving to Tuscany, was the reputation Tuscany had of being a community. And I really appreciate that. And I think there's lots of women that are involved in that I know of, that are on committees and everything, and in the schools, and really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. My next question is, I'm just trying to tick off each question, so I'm making sure that I get everybody. Diana Manville. What has been the most meaningful opportunities in your life to share your nurturing power as a woman?
Well, I've been really lucky. I've been a nurse, and I was in a blood and marrow transplant unit, which is mostly cancer patients. And so this is not a short-term procedure. This is one that lasts for months. So you get to know them and their husband and their wife and their dog and their Aunt Sarah and whoever else comes in, because they become like family to you. And I think that takes a lot of resilience. We had a lot of very young nurses come in, but they didn't stay very long because they could not accept death. And I think as you get older, you realize nobody's getting out of this alive, and some leave earlier than others, you know, but everybody needs somebody to be there for them and to help those of their family who are having a harder time than others dealing with it. And I've seen everything from hysteria at the bedside to a great peace. And it really has been an opportunity. And the other thing I found that as I married into another family with a lot of kids, between us we have 13, that I have had a chance to adopt a whole new set of kids and grandkids. And that has been really extraordinary. I'm 75, I'll be 76 in August, and here I have 2-year-old twins. I'm telling you, that is a challenge. But what a delightful challenge, you know, to have these little girls come running up and see me as grandma. And I think that really is a big delight. So I've had a lot of opportunity like that to share my compassion with people around me. And when I was single, I was working for a charitable organization where I could go in and volunteer several times a week, had wonderful experiences there too. So I've been very lucky.
Thank you for that. I love how you said that, you know, an opportunity to adopt a new family. And I think lots of times we have those opportunities. I know working in the school system, I have the chance to create a connection with students that I've never met before in a really short period of time. And that's actually something that I really enjoy. I know not everybody loves substitute teaching because you have to be able to read those kids faster than they read you. You know, who's the stinker and who's the one that's going to be helpful and who's the what, you know, who's going to be your best buddy for the whole day because they're going to need some extra support. But that's something that has come naturally to me. And I love being able to share that and connect with kids. And whether it's a teacher long-term, that they really can have an impact on students, or the short term. And I love it when I've been able to go to a school a few times and then the kids know me and come running over at recess and they're like, "You're my favorite sub." and I take that as a really nice compliment. Kids are so honest. When I was pregnant in school teaching years ago, I had kids say, "Are you fat or do you have a baby in there?" Bit of both. Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, okay." And so I appreciate kids when they say a nice compliment, you know, they really mean it. Thank you for sharing that. My next question is to Sister Lopez. What does mothering mean to you, and what can mothering look like even when you're not a mother?
Yeah, I really love this question because I feel like there's been a lot of women in my life that they're not my mother. Obviously, my mother was great. She is great. But there's also been other women that have played a motherly role in my life. And kind of the first name that pops up into my mind is my Aunt Rachel. She was a mother way before she ever gave birth to her first child, which was just 3 months ago. So I'm 19 right now, and she's been like a constant support my whole life. And again, she just became like a mother by definition, I guess you would say. But she's always looking out for everyone around her. She's always making sure people feel loved. She helps them with their problems. She's just a really a great example of a nurturing woman. So I'm really grateful to know that you don't have to bear a child to be a mother, as long as you are doing those constant things that help people feel loved, then that's what it means to be a mother. Another leader of our church, President Alan H. Oakes, he said that God planted within women something divine that expresses itself in quiet strength, in refinement, in peace, in goodness, in virtue, in truth, and in love. And I think that all those things kind of define a mother or a nurturing woman. So I'm really grateful for all the examples of the women in my life that have led me to come to know this.
Thank you for that. So I have kind of the last question for everyone in the panel that's the same. So I'll start with Laura. Can you think of a woman in your life, a woman or a mothering influence in your life that has exemplified the qualities of a nurturing woman of influence?
Well, I think the most influential and the easiest to name is obviously my mother. And for me, growing up, I grew up in a home with two parents, a sister. My mom stayed home, enabled my dad to devote his time and energy to his career and to earn an income to support his family. My mother sacrificed a lot so that we didn't go without. She wore a lot of different hats so that we were healthy and happy in everything that we did. And so yeah, so she, you know, she did without. But I also think that I would be remiss. So obviously my mother is the most influential, but I feel like I would be amiss if I didn't mention all of the women in our church, because I'm here, I'm in Calgary, my family is out east, and the women of this church and of our ward have been my village, and each and every one of them, like I want to name every single one of them, but I'm kind of afraid that I'll leave somebody out, but so I won't go there. But they've been my village, and you know, there's nothing that if I have a question or if I need a favor or if I need help with something, there's always been somebody there to help, and I'm so thankful for that support system.
That's wonderful. I think that concept of village, right? And that women play an important role in our village for sure. Thank you for that. Shannon, I'd like to ask you the same question. Can you think of a woman in your life that has exemplified the qualities of a nurturing woman of influence?
I also chose my mom. I also live far from my parents. They're in Saskatchewan. So it's been tough being here and especially not seeing them with COVID. But my mom's always been there for me, even if it's through Zoom lately. But she always cheers me on and encourages me. And when I have doubt, she, you know, reassures me and lets me know that, you know, if you feel like it's the right path for you, then it probably is. She doesn't specifically tell me what to do, but she guides me to make decisions. And I feel like I make really great decisions, but I don't feel like I've been told how to do something. She's really good at that. The other thing too is she has always taught me to do my best, and that's what matters. As long as you did your very best, and you know, that's all that you can do, and just be persistent, and not everything will work out, and that's okay, because sometimes things not working out is just getting you set up for what's to come. So it's just learning and growing, and that, you know, something doesn't work out, that's okay. It's preparing you. So just to hang in there and, you know, deal with it and learn something from it and move on. So she's been really great. And also growing up on a farm, she wore many hats as well. We all worked on the farm growing up. It was a family farm, and she was out in the field, and she had a garden that I don't think I could have 3 kids and have a garden the size that she did and then help on the farm. So she gave up a lot for sure to make sure that we had everything we needed, and running us to our ball games and packing our lunches and getting us to school on time and picking us up for appointments. So she's just shown me that, you know, if you put your heart to something, you can do it. And if you want to care for your kids, you can do that. But if you also feel you want to have a career, you can do that too. And it is about balance, just similar to what Laura said, that it's just making sure that you have a little bit of everything, and then you get that feeling of fulfillment.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I feel the same way about my mom and of other women in my life that they're my biggest cheerleaders, right? My husband's a great support, and he's a cheerleader too, but I have less men in my life than I do women, for sure. I have a lot of cheerleaders, and I think that's such a gift in our lives to have that support and that tradition of support and being a cheerleader and being, someone that gives and to continue that tradition. So I know that's something that's been really important for me, that I had a grandmother who was a strong woman. She was a single mom and had to raise her kids on her own without any support. Back then, there wasn't support. And she always had, supported my mom in getting an education. And she was thrilled when she graduated from university. And my grandma was thrilled when I graduated from university. And that has been a real legacy of something that's important in our family, is learning, and not out of pressure, or you have to go to this school and do this. It was just become such a natural part of our lives to seek learning and growth, and I so appreciate that. Sister Lopez, same question to you. If you could share an example in your life.
Yeah, for sure. You'll never believe who I picked. I also am going to talk about my mom. Couldn't pass up an opportunity to brag about her because she's amazing. And I'm not just saying that because she's watching. I went on mute for some reason, but she is just the best example of a nurturing woman to me. And not just because of the things she did at home for my brothers and I, but because of who she is outside of our home. She has been serving in our church with various responsibilities for years and years, and she's always super dedicated to everything that she does, to the people that she serves. She's great at her job. She dedicates all her time to it, and she just, again, she loves everyone around her, and people just feel such a great light when she's around. And she's a mom to me and my brothers. She's a mom to my friends. She's a mom to her students and to anyone that she can reach out to. So she's definitely my biggest influence of a nurturing woman. I love you, Mom.
Oh, that's so lovely. I appreciate that. I really love, Sister Lopez, that your whole comments today have really been on a focus of love, and I can really feel that from you. So thank you for that. Diana, would you also share with us and someone in your life?
Sure. Now, you guys are all such good examples of sweet ladies. However, I have been a little bit of a monster in my life and have been very turbulent with my mom and dad. So I left home at about 18 and went to the States and got married and had 7 children. And after 25 years, I got a divorce and was single for 18 years and then got married and got a divorce. And so I've moved about 18 times. But the constant in my life has been my children. And one of my children is such a glowing example of a loving woman with her children. And she has very severe physical challenges quite frequently. She's married to a diplomat and travels all over the world. And I've been able to visit her all over the world, which has been a terrific blessing for me to be able to see all these different cultures and these different people, and how she relates to them and how she accepts these different cultures. And mostly what I cherish about her is that she has become my friend. She's not just my daughter, she is my friend. We confide in each other, we joke with each other, we tell each other outrageous stories. It's really a great relationship, and I love her dearly. And so that has to be my woman.
Oh, thank you for that. That's wonderful. And it's so it's interesting, your perspective as a mom, mine as being a daughter. I remember at one point going, oh, I think my mom was born an adult. You know, when you're a young teenager, and now I've got a teenage daughter who probably thinks the same about me. And then I got a little bit older, and I thought, wow, my mom knows a lot, and I don't know anything. I need your help. And now I've gotten to a stage where I still think my mom knows a lot more than I do, but I see her as a friend who isn't perfect and knows that I'm not perfect, and we take each other as good friends, and that we can talk about things and encourage each other, and to know that like she's a safe place, that if I have made a mistake that we can talk, and if she has or whatever, you know. And I so appreciate that learning curve, and I'm grateful that I have her as a friend. So that's huge. I think the nurturing power of women is community, whether that's a small community of a family, a bit bigger of a community as your group of women as friends, or as your village, or in your work groups, and as society as a whole. I've always, and that's why I'm so excited about this topic, is I've always just really felt that women are a grounding force in societies, and that we have a lot to share. And I think as time goes by, that our voice has been heard more and more, and that our influence is felt more and more throughout the world. And I so appreciate that. I just want to thank all of my panelists. Thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your thoughts. I really appreciate everything that you've shared with us tonight. I just wanted to quickly give a minute to Jessica Velasquez, who's kind of been really helping out in the background of this. She is the president of our local Relief Society congregation. And then I'll just give her a couple minutes, and then I'll close. Jessica.
Technical problems. Thank you, Virginia. Thank you, everyone. I just want to take a few minutes to introduce one person that was not introduced at the beginning, and it's Virginia. Virginia Fons has a bachelor's in general studies, and then the bachelor and master's of teaching program, both from U of C. And she is the mother of 4 children and an excellent youth leader and piano teacher. I thought I would take a minute to let you know who Virginia is, and also thank everyone. Last year, when we were thinking about this event, we wanted to take advantage of the month of May and talk about the role of women. And Virginia came up with this beautiful idea of focusing on just the smallest circle of influence, which is the home, and then our communities and our societies, and who could we invite that would, cover all circles of life, from no children to small children to grandma to somebody who has worked in the home, outside the home. So I really thank all of you for participating. And Shannon, I want to thank you especially, because we were looking for someone who was involved in the community, and I've known Shannon for more than 1.5 years, I think. And she certainly exemplifies someone who is very involved and reaches out outside of her circle, outside her home. So thank you, Virginia, Hermana Lopez, or Sister Lopez, Diana, and Laura. Thank you all. Just a quick recap. Virginia mentioned the word Relief Society. Relief Society is an organization of women, and it's worldwide. And it exists and it works in every single country where the church is at. And in fact, I was doing a quick research. The church has been in Calgary since 1953. It's when not since, but the first stake was organized in 1953. And then June 15th, 2003, the Tuscany ward was organized. So I thought that was really interesting to see how we've come together to from worldwide, and then this Calgary, and then here in our community of Tuscany and Valley Ridge, because I should include Valley Ridge as well. And then I wanted to mention that some of the things that we do as Relief Society is the focus is on strengthening individuals and families and society and working unity to help others. And interestingly enough, last year, there were 400 blankets that were collected, tied and donated. And 113 hygiene kits also were donated during COVID. And then just a few months ago, or actually a few weeks ago, there were 9 trucks worth of donations, and 5 of them came from Tuscany, 4 of them came from Valley Ridge. They were all driven and donated to the drop-in center. So I really, really appreciate how we can all come together as families and communities to help each other. I loved all the words that were mentioned, like help, cheerleader, role model, combined effort, support, celebrate each other, influence, reach out. I think that is the power of women together serving others, and not just their families, but others outside their circle. And I especially like the word village. I, as a mom of 5 children, I am grateful, sincerely grateful for the village around me. I'm not from Calgary. My family is in another country. So I depend on women like you and like the ones watching at home, or the ones who will watch this recording, because I need a village for my kids. So I appreciate that we come together, and I believe in the role of influence of women, not just as mothers, but mothering as a whole. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. And I'd like to invite you to join us July 18th for the next speaker series, which is going to be about family history and the beauty of writing the stories of our ancestors and our family trees. So once again, Virginia, thank you so much for organizing this. Laura, Shannon, Diana, my sister Lopez, thank you so much. And with that, I turn the time back to Virginia.
Okay, all I just wanted to end with is we just want to thank you so much for joining, all of you ladies in the panel and those of you watching. And I hope that this was an uplifting evening for you to celebrate women. And I really felt that it was. And one little thing to give you today or tomorrow is I hope that you take the time to show your love and appreciation for the women in your life and the mothers in your life. That maybe tomorrow you can send them a nice little message or something. Because I think Mother's Day is not just one day of the month. That Mother's Day and women's days should be celebrated and recognized every day of the year. So thank you so much for that, and have a lovely evening. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.